Yay. It is not on the agenda.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Call the meeting order.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sean, you're up first.
I am actually here tonight for the public hearing on the COVID phase 3 grant. We are just here to simply wrap up the project itself and move forward with our closeout. Okra requires the second hearing now. To recap, 11 businesses were served, approximately $10,000 each. And we had $150,000 going to the food program. And I don't have the figures on exactly how many different people we ended up serving. but it was
I think 11 different ones.
just 11 different families.
Yeah, we had 100,000 one to the, the food program.
Yeah. The food program.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was more than 100 different families that were serviced by having the opportunity to go to various grocery stores with certificates for food buying. So it was a really needed thing and worked out well for them. I know it was a lot of work on Rachel and her crew, but it serviced everyone well. So the grant funds, as I said, were $250,000, and there was a $25,000 match that Stark County provided. So I just need to see if there's any questions about that grant or not.
Public hearings, so if there's any questions on that. Questions on that, or close the public hearing?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, do you want to take this back with you? He signed that. There's a sign sheet too. No, they didn't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is in regards to the Stellar communities. In February, we did open bids for the Stellar project. As a reminder, is the second bid. We opened them once in May, and project was way out of our budget. So we made some changes based on input from the Stark County Stellar team. The engineer revamped it. We spoke with Okra. Because of having to try to cut back so much, Okra allowed us to do divisions so that we could accept some and not others as we could fit into the budget. They also allowed us to go with, generally they allow for one contractor in this situation, but they're actually allowing us to go to the lowest bidder. So we've got two different contractors that we're considering. I believe Justin has seen the bid tab. What it came down to is, again, we were short. We're way short. Upon the recommendation of the Stellar team, they requested that we look into being able to ask Okra if we could remove one project. As a reminder, there are 3 or 4 sites that are proposed in this project. And the team suggested removing one of those projects. Okra did allow for that to happen. And therefore, what we had to do in return was reallocate those additional funds that were in the grant, because they had a portion of grant funds allocated to them. Specifically talking, it is the Coons Lake project that we would no longer be doing. We would still be doing the Bass Lake, the Knox Park, and the North Judson Park, but we're still going to have an adjustment in some of our funding from you guys because of you have committed to both the Bass Lake and Coos Lake projects. We took that remaining grant money that was initially allocated and by pro rata dispersed it against how much the project site cost versus how much the grant was. So everything was broken down into simply a percentage. For instance, the CDBG funds for every project had to be approximately 76%. So we've got them all to 76.7965, that type of thing. We're really close to having exactly equal percentage wise that way. However, based on the project cost versus what the total of all of the projects, all of the sites cost, we are spending 31% on Bass Lake of the grant amount, 26% on Knox, and 43% on Norway Field. Okay. And again, how we came to that was the same way that we came to it in the application phase. We took what was going to be in the application phase, we took the estimated site project versus the total amount of the grant and came up with that percentage. We did the exact same thing with this bid, but instead of having 4 projects to do it with, we only had 3 projects to do it with. So we've broke that all down, okay? It's complicated, but at the same time, it's the only way Okra will allow us to distribute those funds is by pro rata. Now, I will tell you, I have a call into Okra to see if there's any other way we can do it, because there has been some requests made that we do it perhaps a different way. I'm going to talk to Okra. They have not responded back to me yet to let me know if there is an alternative to maybe taking the money and dividing it up by a dollar amount instead of the percentage. They've not done it in the past, but of course, I'm gonna ask.
It needs to stay percent wise, and so.
Well, yeah, because there was how much total funds budgeted originally?
The original application budget for the project went in at $424,213.
And of that, how much was going to go to the Coos Lake project?
$80,914.
So it's just a matter of how, and if I'm getting this wrong, let me know, but it's just a matter of how we divide that 80 grand into the remaining 3 projects.
Yes,
Correct?
it's based on that percentage is what we did.
Okay.
Specifically with one of the projects, the Knox project, their project came in different. Let me find it. Their project came in higher than what their original was. Everything else came in lower. The other 2 projects came in lower. And that's because when we did the original budget, it had all the options in it. And on the rebid, it only had part of those options in it because we had to break it down into divisions. And we are accepting all of the division 1s based on what's available. The request that's going to be made is concern over what's happening at Bass Lake. Bass Lake's original request was for a trailhead. The restroom building was included in that original project. Unfortunately, we don't have the funding to include that building. So it's essentially a parking area and that type of thing.
The cost with the building was,
Apologize, there's many different sheets.
yeah.
with the building would be $169,480.
And without,
Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute. Take that back,
okay,
It's, the base bid is 110,930, and it's 148 for the building. So that's on top of that 110. So it's an addition to the 110.
so it's $250,000 for,
Correct.
and 80 wouldn't even get us close anyway.
No. If you take all of the figures based on what you guys had originally committed between Coons Lake and Bass Lake for your portion of local match
Mhm.
was $53,815.
Okay,
Now, if you look at it with what you're paying for Bass Lake, which is now $31,245, the difference is $22,750. Again, that project is $128,000, so we're looking at $105,962 that's short for the project to
so
get that building included.
let me do a little math here.
And the 53,815 is coming out of roads and bridges, out of CEDA. Make sure you budget that this year.
Excuse me? So our match originally was 53,815. With the removal of the Coons Lake project, our match is now only 3165,
245. 31,245.
31,240. Okay, my math is wrong.
There you go, Dan, 31,245.
That's interesting.
So what you basically went from 53,000 local match to 31,000 local match. But the team is really hoping to get that Division 2 done somehow. But that leaves an additional 105,962 that needs to be found.
Yeah, I don't think there's anywhere to find that, is there? I don't think so.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Mary is here and she's part of the team. She's
Mhm.
kind of heading up the team. So I would like to try to include her in this conversation.
I guess the question would be, because without the building, all you've got is a parking area,
Mm-hmm.
near the current boat parking area. A lot of the cost is the clearing and preparation of the area. Unfortunately, we're not able to use, force account labor for this. So I guess it comes down to a philosophical question of, do you want to spend, $110,000 on a parking lot? Or,
$250,000 on the whole shebang.
right, or just do nothing, which,
Well, what have we got now? Doing nothing.
I mean,
I don't
Sean,
think-
what would be if the county were to tap out, would the money get divided then equally between Knox and North Judson? They'd have to come up with the additional match, or?
At that point in time, again, it's going to be an Okra call because that took out half the project.
Right,
And that's not doing what the project was intended for.
Right.
Because it is a countywide project.
And you don't want to start eliminating more and more.
Right,
And then
yeah.
not get anything, so.
I mean,
If the parking lot needs it though, doesn't it make sense just to go through with it?
right.
If we're gonna have to do it anyway.
well, it's not redoing the existing parking lot, it's clearing and adding
Yeah.
an additional
That's a trailhead. point.
and a trailhead point.
Makes sense to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the philosophical question there, but
Yeah, I mean, if the option is do that or be on the hook for another $150,000, I'd rather just do the parking lot.
That's all we can do.
That's
Start.
right. I mean,
More than what was there.
and there will be more opportunities in the future.
And we'll have better control. We can control our bids then.
Yeah.
Like $150,000 bid for a bathroom seems a little tall to me.
Little,
I mean,
yeah, especially given the option to, reduce our match by $20,000 anyway. I don't see how that's a losing option.
a lot of the cost, Dave, to your point on the bathroom, we're looking at $10,000 for tree removal. And well, no, I'm sorry, that's the parking lot, but a $30,000 cost for a well and water line connections, $20,000 for a sewer line connections and tap fee, and then $90,000 for the building itself. But the Bass Lake Conservancy District would not work with us on waiving any of those tap fees. We asked.
They
Yeah.
tried very diligently.
Makes
So,
sense.
you know, that's $50,000 right there. And then $8,000 for the electrical.
Sounds like a pretty fancy well then. 30,000 buys a pretty big well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, a 4-inch well would feed a bathroom.
I believe it was a connection.
It's the connections too.
The
And you said it
best-
was another 20 for the connection.
No, that was the that was the sewer connections.
This will give us a chance to negotiate with Bass Lake to see if they want improvements. Then,
Right,
you know.
Yep.
It's called meeting us halfway.
Yeah.
right.
So,
So I think what we have left, I think it'd be best to split it up, but. Really,
split the 80.
yeah.
Well, it would be on that pro rata
Yeah.
portion.
Yeah, 30% of the 80 goes to Bass Lake.
No, it's not a 30.
No, it's a 31, 26, 43. That's what you told us.
Yes,
Okay.
not a 30. I thought you were saying 30.
No. No,
Yeah.
yeah, this 80 that was budgeted, or that we have.
Well, it's actually not the 80 because you've got your match in there that you're saying you're gonna take out. So if you take that match out, keep in mind it's a little bit different.
So what do those percentages mean in numbers?
Do you want to keep your match your additional match included in that? You do not have to. We've budgeted it based on you not doing that, just so we can get a fair, clear figure.
No,
Specifically, the Bass Lake would be 31,245 for local. They would get a grant of 103,346
Hmm.
because their project's 134.
and then the municipalities are matching,
Are matching.
providing the matching funds for the Knox and
For
North
theirs.
Judson. Okay,
That's correct.
that sounds like the right option.
I think that's what we'll do.
Okay,
Sean, do you need them to vote on those changes?
And they'll need to vote on accepting the bids
So is there a motion
as presented.
on the changes?
a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And is there a motion to accept the bids?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye. You, thanks for all the work. This has been a 2-year process?
It's coming.
All right.
We'll see it through.
Next up, we have USI. Maggie. Evening.
We just want to provide some updates as well as an ATP that came through for our on-call. The first update we're going to cover was the 2021-2 Community Crossings Grant. So the PO request has been sent to NDOT. I think you guys recently signed some more papers on that. Once we get that back, we'll help you guys
Twice.
out with issuing the notice to proceed to Reed Riley to begin that work. Everything's in there on that one. Okay, 2022-1 Community Crossings upgrade. The design has started, so as soon as we get the money, we'll go ahead and be able to bid that out early, and then you guys would have the opportunity to pay both this year if you wanted to. Next is the federal aid process opportunity. That's just a lunch and learn that we're hosting. It's mainly directed towards the ERCs, just kind of their action items and what they do as the ERC, kind of step by step to help guide them, since you guys do have some newer staff on board. We do like to extend the invite to the commissioners if they wanted to go as well. So if you do, just reach out to me or Dan, and we would be able to forward the invite to you.
When is that?
March 29th. It's at Red Mill County Park in LaPorte County.
I won't be going to that. I got something else that day.
Two.
You too? No?
I believe
Brian?
people from the highway are going.
Okay.
The next item was the ADA transition plan. So I'm not sure if this is in your package. If it's not, I did bring some printed copies.
Good.
So this was just to help you guys get it across the finish line. We met with Mark and Joe and kind of reviewed what Joe already had in place and what we could help out with just finishing it up.
Has Joe seen this?
I emailed it to you guys.
Okay. This is.
Yes, I've received it.
This was the attachment that I didn't read. Joe, your thoughts?
I mean, my thoughts with the ADA and the transitioning plan, with what USI prepared, with the project fee and with what Stark County in its whole is trying to acquire with ADA, I think at right now, that project fee should probably be tabled until 2023, where there can be a budget placed, as well as, you know, exhausting our resources through the highway department as well as through the building inspectors. Just because of what they listed on the ADP, the additional barriers, the right-of-way accessibility guidelines, the Bass Lake, Park and County sidewalks. With our current ADA transition, we don't have those facilities listed under the Stark County assets.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess the county responsible for maintaining them, correct?
Yeah, so you're confident we can get through all of our requirements we need to get through this year and don't need to address what's listed here until next year?
I'm confident with the unincorporated areas out there in San Pierre to utilize the highway department as well as their current routes, just to basically see, just because since 2012, those areas were not listed. So just to validate and to make sure that those areas are, you know, following the plan that was created in 2012. And then as far as the Bass Lake, I think that project should start up, you know, the 2023 version, just because right now our plan is to just ensure the NDOT with, you know, our bases, and then basically then provide the goals into our upcoming years, which will then incorporate, you know, the further studies, the further involvement, as well as the expansion of the assets of the Stark County.
So yeah, because that was my motivation on looking into this, meeting with that other firm, you know, was to make sure we had the resources you needed to get through the time deadlines you had with the state for plans this year. And beyond that, you should have everything up to speed that you need to get things done. Am I off base with, are we in sync on this, or have we diverged a bit?
I'm in sync with it. I was just looking with the USI's, you know, plan of the 8 weeks. With the transition plan, the implementation plan, those are pretty much completed.
Okay,
Just then adding, you know, the right of ways and the cost estimates, which obviously I did not include initially when we met with USI. But I believe by utilizing, you know, Bose or his department, we'll be able to get the fair estimates for the fixes that have been notated for this current self-evaluation assessment.
okay. Well, thanks for putting it together and letting us take a look at it. But we're just we're gonna follow my guy's recommendation because he's my guy. Unless you guys don't like that idea.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
The last thing we had on here is just the ARP funding. They have restructured it. I think you guys are aware of that, but if you guys had any questions about it, we could help assist in any way. So we just wanted to let you know we're available. for you.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. And, Lisa?
Aye.
Just passed out a packet earlier. The council actually asked us to seek out 3 quotes for basically a 3-year scope of work for the lead track. We have worked with Railworks and Tranco. Tranco currently does most of our work right now, but they put together quotes, each of them. The second page or the first page, of course, shows their quotes and the total for the 3 years based on the criteria, which is the second page. And then I also included a diagram of the lead tracks in there and each of their proposals. So I'm not sure. I was told that I bring these to you guys, and then I don't know who decides that and at what point. As you can see, one of them is way higher
Yeah.
than the other ones, and I emailed today, I said, are you sure this is right? And because this is what I will present, so of course, my recommendation would be one of the second or the third one.
Which
But-
one?
Well, like I said, Tranco is doing the work now. They do a fine job. I don't know. I mean, we've used Railworks in the past.
Okay.
So they're both familiar companies. In fact, Ameritrack Rail, the high quote, they were the ones who helped when Reagent Rail came in at the corner there. They actually helped put the rail spur in there. But other than that, Railworks and Tranco have done the majority of work on the lead track. It is about 18 years old. So there will need to be some maintenance and repairs done in the next few years. I checked with Rachel to see, I mean, we've got about $435,000 there. We are, the way it works right now with the Knox fertilizer and reagent, they pay a per car rate. For some reason, about 3 years ago, they negotiated it into 2 different rates, which basically is $10 a rail car. And that's what they pay the treasurer's office every quarter. We bill them and they send a check in. Well, that's not even coming close. So basically what they did was they said, okay, this $10 per car rate is what's going to go into this maintenance and repair budget. And then we get the actual of all the expenses, the REMC, the NIPSCO, the inspections and everything that happens on a monthly basis. And we bill them separate for that after everything is done for the year. So we just sent a bill to Reagent and to Knox Fertilizer, who are the only 2 users at the moment. And that rate based on actual expenses was about $38 per car. So me and my infinite wisdom says, why do we have 2 separate? Because we're billing them quarterly throughout the year, this $10 per car rate. And then we're at the end of the year, we're looking at all the actual expenses and then we're billing them again. And to me, it's like back in the day, it was a $51 per car rate. And that was enough to cover actual expenses plus put money away for the maintenance and repair.
And would these additional fees get wrapped into that going forward in the next 3 years?
The one, what we're collecting separate or?
Right, that second bill.
The second bill is what covers the actual expenses. So no, the only thing going into this surplus for repairs and that is the $10 per car. Which, you know, each Reagent and Knox Fertilizer are pretty close per quarter. And we're maybe getting $1,500 a piece per quarter. So it's not a lot that's actually going into the maintenance and repair. My personal opinion is let's make it a $40 rate per car rate. That should cover the expenses and, well, I mean, that's not really even true because it was $38 what I
Better do the
figured.
math first. I thought we were looking at, we thought $51.
$51 is what it had been. I started there in 06 and it had been that until 3 years ago.
We thought higher than that, maybe. I thought when we were talking.
I was thinking a little bit lower than that, but the actual rate was 38 for the expenses.
We had such a surplus back then, and the track was pretty new. Is why they brought it down.
Well, we've killed the surplus, it sounds like.
Well,
Yeah,
and with
yeah.
this, for sure, definitely. with
And
the-
you know, the factories out there, they kind of wanted it in there, the ones that use it. to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's not costing the county, it's going to those guys. But now it has to go back up in order to cover.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least,
Well-
do some figuring so that they just pay, you know,
That's
once.
what Lisa's trying to figure out.
Here's my goal. My goal is somebody's going to be moving soon into that toll building,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hoping that they will be on rail. I have had numerous discussions with J.R. Hicks. And because originally it was like, you know, we want this spot right next to the lead track, and we've been working with them for years to try and get them on as far as rail for some of their product. So if there were 4 users, you know, potentially it could go down some, because right now we've only got 2 users. So, you know, the expenses are only being split between 2 users.
Just from a logistics point of view, I would think managing it on a, you know, managing the fees on a per car basis, that way you'd know it's easier to budget for than we're gonna pay $10 per car and then get a surprise at the end of the year.
Exactly, and it's a, you know, it's kind of a pain to build them quarterly, and then all of a sudden at the end of the year, I want to make sure my numbers match Rachel's as far as actual expense, and then we bill them again for actual expense. So it's kind of if we just did it all in under one rate, it would cover the expenses, it would cover the maintenance and the repairs.
For sure you get it figured out.
I don't know. Some days I think so, some days not.
That sounds like it, at least with this.
So, you know, if we had 2 more users on, like I said, it would be, you know, a little bit, we could go a little bit cheaper on the per car rate, but when you only have 2 users,
Well, that's, yeah, something to
And we'll have to-
reevaluate every
we'll have to
year or so.
negotiate with Knox Fertilizer and with Reagent and say, this is where we are.
Mhm.
And so something probably, if we can work on something and negotiate a new rate with those 2 folks, I would say in the next 6 months, that would be fantastic. Because with these expenses coming up for the next 3 years, we are going to deplete our what we've got there now, so. And that's why I'm here, and I don't know what happens next. Rachel, does it go then to, well, does it go to the council, or do you guys say this is what we're gonna do and that's what we do, or?
I don't know if that particular fund needs an additional appropriation done. I'll have to check into that because it's not really a taxpayer fund.
Okay, they're paying for it, so it's, yeah.
So I would have the commissioners need to choose one and then possibly go to the council.
You're happy with the cheap option?
Yeah, I mean, I have not worked as closely with Railworks. They've done work for us in the past. I worked daily or most recently with Tranco, but you know, it's whatever you guys think. Either one is good with me.
Just wondering what they were replacing.
Wasn't Railworks, haven't they done, did they do some work when you were the director?
Yeah, we had some issues with what they were getting done for us, that's when we switched to Tranco. Tranco took care of us better. The foreman from Tranco that works on these projects lives at Knox, he's a member of the Knox City Council.
I'm saying there,
Yeah.
sounds like the customer service with Tranco might be better.
Larry said there were some issues with Railworks where they had said they would do certain things for a certain amount, and then there were some issues, so.
I worked for Railworks at the Gary Airport for a long time. They're A1
Yeah,
in my book.
okay.
Tranco's the one that fixed the last time, couple years ago.
Did that job.
They did.
First time.
You were happy with that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Which one we
Yeah,
looked at it. You need a motion to, I make a motion, we accept the Transco bid, 297,000. That's the total.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Like that, now I did give you guys a new copy of the latest version of our rural opportunity zone marketing piece.
So you're gonna dig in further on the fees and what we should adjust them to?
Yes, and then, like I said, I would like a commissioner, if possible, to meet with me and free agent and Knox Fertilizer to say basically this is what we need to do, and we'll have to redo our contracts with them.
We'll rock, paper, scissors for that later.
Yeah, you guys just let me know who that might be.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
There a motion to approve the payroll claims in the amount of $259,610.85.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the vendor claims in the amount of $304,155.46?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the minutes from Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have opioid litigation review.
So I had received a packet full of information concerning our opt-in, opt-back into the opioid litigation. I had a fairly lengthy discussion about a month ago with the representative of the attorneys handling that. I think it's an opt-in is a good idea. They've handled most of the heavy work for us on that end, and we stand to receive a fairly hefty settlement. You know, when they settle in April and start making distributions from that, you know, our other option is to spearhead it alone. And again, since it's a class action lawsuit where payout and a lot of things are set by statute, I think it's probably a good idea. You know, certainly I'm stepping on late in the game because I know Marty had kind of started this and spearheaded it, but I've got various documents here that I would need your guys' approval on. Again, I just received this in the last couple of days. Basically, it's an amendment to the attorney fees agreement. So what they did was statutorily reduce the amount of attorney fees on their end, the attorneys handling the class action they could receive. And there's a distribution schedule, again, set by statute, what they will receive. It's something like 8.5%, I think, of the gross payout, which when it comes to class actions is pretty low, to be quite honest. There's a template resolution in here, which I've reviewed. It looks good, basically just saying one single sheet, we're opting back in, you know, to the opioid settlement, a certification, a notice of election to opt back in, and then a participation agreement saying that we'd agreed to participate in the settlement. I think, again, when I reviewed this, we would have to have this passed and back then by March 31st to start with the April settlement and payout to get that started. So again, I've got all these documents here. I'll answer what I can. You know, again, it's been about a month since I talked to him, and it was kind of high level, since it didn't really originate with me, but I see no downside to opting in, because otherwise our other choice is to, currently stay opted out, and then we've got to pursue something on our own, and that's just, at least in my mind, doesn't make sense to me, since a lot of the work has been done for us up to this point.
Made sense, but then we opted out. I mean, because as I understood it, the settlement was going to be based on population rather than the actual effect on us. Has that changed?
No, I don't believe so. I guess I wasn't here for the discussion as to why you guys opted out. So what were your concerns?
We mostly because we were a named plaintiff rather than just a general member of the class. And we didn't want to be, as I understood it, we didn't want to be limited in what future actions we could take with other parties.
Sure. Well, this is only with regard to two. Let's see. So it would be with McKesson Corporation, Cardinal Health Inc., and Amerisource Virgin Corporation, and then Johnson & Johnson. So only with regard to those defendants.
Yeah, I think that was the big one that was going to get off easy with this, which is why we opted out.
And we could, this doesn't have to be approved today. If you guys want, we can kind of set up a call and maybe discuss it a little bit further with them. They're going to have most of the information, because it would have to be passed and back to them if we wanted to opt in by March 31st. So we still have our meeting on the 21st if we want to opt back in. But I can facilitate coordinating that call if you guys would like, and they can talk about some of the.
Yeah, let's table this to the next meeting
Okay.
and dig into it a bit more.
Sure.
We can go over everything that changed as far as why would we want to opt back in?
Right.
Because there were good reasons to opt out.
Oh, yeah. Right. That's why we did it.
All right, thanks.
I'll set up that call. And
So you had a motion to table it. Started second. All in favor? Aye. Then the court services appointment, I guess.
Yes.
Explain that.
That is the Community Corrections Board. It's called the Stark County Court Services. And I met with them. They need a fiscal representative, and I met with them with the board last week. They've accepted me pending your appointment as well.
Make the motion to appoint Rachel to the court services.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And the courtesy appointment, we have Jack Rosen.
Mhm.
And this is because you came off of it?
Yeah, you were still looking for a
Okay.
member to that.
Make the motion to appoint Jack Rosa to Kersey.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the CDC board, we had the resignation. Under Benaziac. Now there's 2 open spots on there.
Mhm.
I wonder if we should, well, I guess you can advertise a little bit for that.
Yeah. Will you read this, Brian? This resignation from Linda?
Yeah.
What's up with it? What is, do you know what the?
She didn't care for it that much in the first place, and then the second, next. Part now.
Yeah,
I don't know if she's even trying to start up another one or not.
well,
And
she,
aren't you actually supposed to be in certain business, in order to even be on that board?
There's a couple different types of appointments.
I was just talking about this.
Yeah.
paragraph.
yeah,
She just got worded off.
okay,
That's-
all right, cool.
Is it possible to put more of an explanation in the ad? Maybe get more people interested, or,
It's
For
not-
the CDC,
yeah.
I don't even know if we've
We don't really
for
advertise.
CDC yet, because the resignations came after when we advertised for our appointments. So I'll have to have WKBI advertise for them.
Right, that's what I mean, but a lot of people might not know, like,
What
how
is
to qualify, what you
Oh.
gotta do, stuff like that.
Okay.
Maybe add some of that in there.
I mean, we still don't have, there's an empty spot on the park board too. And there's,
Park board's full now.
is it, did we get somebody back in?
Tom took over.
Oh, that's right. I
yeah,
forgot about that.
The alcohol board. I
Oh,
think you
that's
still
what-
have.
That's what it
Yeah.
was. I knew there's boards that still have holes
Yeah.
that we need to fill.
Let's get it filled before it ends.
Right?
That's gotta be a different.
Yeah.
Anything else, Tom? Anything, Mark?
I'll just let you guys know, I got all the department heads together. It felt like showing up. Talk about redoing the website, getting the information they need and think is relevant for their department stuff. Mostly spurred by that one gentleman that was here at one of our meetings several months ago, rapping about how easy it is to find information. So Richard's spearheading that, and he's also looking into options because I guess our insurance company has made a new requirement for us. It's called two-factor authentication when accessing services remotely, like the web email and all that stuff. So he's looking into that, and that'll be an extra thing that everybody will have to deal with once that gets implemented. But he's looking into it. I think he's got an option, and I think he's just looking for, or just making sure he knows how to fund it properly.
I talked to him the other day, Mark, it looks like we found something really
Yeah,
economical to do it now, so.
yeah,
Fingers crossed.
It's only when you're working remotely too, so that's nice.
right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's the two-factor only comes into play when for remote access. So that's that'll affect like when we allow people to work from home. So we might need to dig into some policies again.
Right.
Yeah, because it affects it when they log in on their phones too.
Right. Yeah, and that's the big question that came out of the meeting was, are we going to require people to use their personal phones for the two-factor stuff? And that's a great big question mark right now. How to implement that properly.
Sorry, I didn't misspeak there. The House bill that's going to be passed takes into account community effect, not population. But I think it's worth setting up a call just to verify that, just to make sure, because I just got this the other day.
Yeah.
It included the House bill with modifications, so I didn't want to speak, just guess at that.
So that's still
sorry.
pending.
It's not gotten a signature yet.
Yeah,
They said they
okay.
expected it to be forthcoming, but
Okay. Oh, it made it out of committee without, okay, cool. I didn't. And then the other thing, I don't know if you guys, I got one of the maintenance guys, or the maintenance guy that works for Jim, was talking to me about maybe doing some landscaping on the south side of the courthouse around the stairwells that used to lead the bathrooms. I don't know if you guys want to be part of any of those discussions. If you care about landscaping,
Yeah, no, I mean, that'd be good to do it.
so that way we can be coordinated with what the judge wants and all that fun stuff. So we'll probably set up a meeting in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That's all I had.
Justin, you got anything else for us?
We'll talk about this on a March 21st meeting, but I do believe that we've got, at least with regard to the economic development agreements. Brian, I think you said you've gotten a copy of it, or Dave said. Economic development agreement for Mammoth, not for Nextera. I think that's to the point where we're ready to execute it, because it's numbers read the same from the memorandum of understanding you guys approved last year, but we had to put it in the form of an agreement.
So I
So
was there. Yeah, that wasn't us.
yeah, it's hard to remember who it all
Yeah.
goes through, but
We all reviewed it though. and
Right.
both boards.
it does call for a commissioner's signature though. So I will be giving you guys a copy of that EDA once I hear back from Mammoth that it meets their approval as well. So that way you guys can, as a board, look over it as a whole. before that March 21st meeting, because I'd like to ask for your guys' approval and the county council's approval on that same night, since it requires dual
You did
signature.
say that, though, right? Did they kind of?
The EDA,
Yeah, did they accept what?
well, I sent
we
the,
talked about?
I've not heard back from Mammoth's attorney yet, but I did email to him last week, and then I sent Nextera theirs back with a couple comments on it, so he didn't think there was any issues with it, but he was waiting for formal approval.
I talked to Chris today and the attorneys are reviewing the next Terra one.
Okay,
The numbers though are what you guys saw before. The main thing what we did was is we came back and addressed some concerns that collectively.
Yeah, the big ones were
The roads, yes.
all of Danny's
Yeah, so
concerns.
there were some modifications there, but otherwise the essence of it is what you've seen before.
Okay. Danny, have you seen that?
Yes,
You happy with it?
yeah, I think it's probably as good as it's gonna get.
Okay.
Anything, Rachel? Anyone else have anything?
I have one item.
Oh, is this the sinkhole? I haven't tried to drive by it, but. No, this is that intersection in Kings Lake.
That, it could be a minor thing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what Bill was talking about.
Okay, so this is the intersection of Iroquois and Topinabe. Would you like a copy? Okay, so this has been an ongoing issue even before I came on board. The way this intersection sits, all the water drains right to this area. If you look at the second map, I have it marked where the water sits on the overhead map. Basically, 2 weeks ago, there was an accident here and the car came down Topinabe and could not stop because the water you see was frozen. And the car came through the intersection and was hit by a vehicle traveling on Iroquois Street. I've talked with Bill, the surveyor. There's nowhere to tie into a drain. This is roughly 300 feet off Highway 23. There is a drain that runs along 23, but it's on the other side, so we would have to bore underneath 23 to drain this.
That's if NDOT lets us tie into it,
That, yes,
because from what I understood, by NDOT's calculation, that drain on 23 is pretty close to capacity without anything else getting thrown into it.
so, I mean, we're looking at like $250,000 project here
Yeah.
to drain this one intersection. If we build the road up, you're just gonna flood the residents out.
Yeah, and that's an issue everywhere, like, can be,
Mm-hmm.
around the lakes.
So this picture was taken this morning. So tomorrow, there's probably gonna be a coat of ice on this. It's been recommended that we make this a four-way intersection, four-way stop intersection. That would slow the traffic down on Iroquois, so if someone did slide through this ice patch, they would see them coming. It's not gonna fix the problem, it's just a Band-Aid.
It's certainly some step we need to take a step between now and when we can fix it permanently, and that sounds like a good option to me. And then it is,
And this is, I was told that you guys would have permission to make this happen. We wouldn't have to go through. Okay,
you can vote on it tonight. I'll write up a resolution. You can ratify it by your signature afterwards. I've already got a form I've used since these are your county roads. Presumably, I don't know the area, but
What's the
This is the road that goes from 23 to the lake. Up by, it turns off at 23 at the Reynolds, right?
This is one block down.
One block, okay. I always get that confused because it's all right there.
I believe Iroquois runs straight to the beach.
Yeah.
Do you know to put up new traffic pattern ahead signs too?
I'm sorry.
Do you know to put up new traffic pattern ahead signs too? So usually if you're
yeah, you'd
changing an
have to-
intersection, you have to
you'd
put
have
up
to-
new traffic ahead. or-
Make sure you do
Yeah,
Okay.
that if we pass it.
Louis made them before. He should be able, he should have them out there.
For now, we just have Randy, just put make a motion, to get a copy of the here for the 4-way stop.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. Normally you'd get an LTAP study.
Thank you. So, we're doing some business.
Yes. Go ahead. Yep.
Good evening, good afternoon. I'm Wayne Haig, and thank you for allowing me. I would like to point out for the record, the problem with the Coos Lake project location should not have been considered since it's not a Stark County park where they were discussing between my house and the water. That is not a park. I want to provide it to you for the record and would like it entered in the record. That location is not a,
In,
nor should it have ever been considered. So going forward, this kind of thing won't happen again. Because it's not a park and it shouldn't have been considered to have a pavilion there because those monies were expected to go to a park and it is not such. I wanted to get that in the meeting minutes here. And,
It will be in the minutes that you're saying it's not a park, but legally. it can't be
legally, it
said
is
it's
not a park. It is not a park. And I'd be happy to have my attorney speak with your attorney concerning this.
I can't really talk to him. His attorney did reach out today. I have to go through his attorney. so-
okay. Thank you for your statement.
Thank you.
And we should quit referring to it as the beach.
Anyone else have anything for us?
I don't know if they taught it, but they're not gonna do the pavilion now.
They were notified.
No further business? Motion.
Second.
All in favor?